Welcome to the Practically Speaking podcast. I'm your host, Marieno, Brisbon. So good to see you. I hope y'all have been having a great week. I don't know where to start at. I don't know where to start at. Let's just start here. Listen, so we had another guest on the last episode, and the response was really good. Really good response from everybody, all of you. Excited about that. And so I was like, okay, Lord, what do we talk about in this episode? And there's so many little nuggets that's been happening in my life over the past few weeks. So many things that I feel like God is just molding in me, shaping in me, trying to help me to realize. And He is reminding me of some things. And the interesting thing about God that I am learning and have been learning is His perspective is always much more settled, and it's much more clear. And here's why I say clear. Because we have a tendency, or should I say I? Yeah, I'll say I. Yeah, I have a tendency to put on different lenses to see things that are going on around me. An example of that, someone say something to you, hey, we don't need you this week for what we originally asked you for. What we do is we put on the lenses that we have been given based on the things that have gone on in our life. So when we hear that comment to us, some might even put on the lens of rejection, and then they begin to think, oh, what did I do? Why all of a sudden the change? That's because you're looking at it from a lens of rejection. And then if I put on the lens of being undervalued, I see that comment as, I guess I don't have enough to do what was asked of me. And so we walk around switching out lenses in order to see life around us. And the interesting thing about this is I have seen over the past few weeks where God has shown me these lenses that I put on. They actually like default. Like, I do it without even thinking about doing it. And so it's been freeing to one, see what God sees, and being able to to put these different lenses in the right perspective and realizing that sometimes it's just a comment. It's not even nothing that was meant to you, towards you, or against you, or about you. It's just something that just happened. It's like a just happening thing. It's not anything into it. There's no ulterior motives connected to it. It's just the normalcy of life and things happening and things changing. And so this past week, there were a few instances where I put on the wrong lens in situations. And God had to correct me on that and show me just where, no, son, you look at that from the lens of your rejection. Or no, son, you looked at that from the lens of being or having the feeling of being undervalued. And it's good that I have God in my corner like that, or should I say, the Holy Spirit like that, because to walk around like that, you will miss out on things. And then not only will you miss out on things, but you will project those lenses onto people. And so there could be someone that you projected that lens onto, that you begin to only see them through that lens. And then it's actually nothing wrong with the person at all. And so you're walking around holding something against a person based on the lens that you saw them through. And that's what it means to, well, this is, so I say this prayer often, is to God, please help me to see people like you see them. Or help me to see this situation like you see it. What I'm essentially praying is, God, remove any lenses that I already have. Remove anything based on my past traumas, my past hurts, my past pains, my past struggles. Remove those lenses so that I could see everything around me clearly. And so now you are walking around and you're switching out lenses based on the situation. And I'm using this metaphor as a lens because you can lenses are interchangeable. You know, when you have your glasses, there's different lenses based on your eyesight need. And so that's why I'm using this, because perspective is what we see. And if I am looking through these lenses that would cause me to miss out on, one, could be a blessing. Two, there's nothing there. You have created something. Your lens has created something that was never there. And so now you're walking around harboring something that you created in your mind. So let me run that back. Because we let something come into our eyesight and saw it from the wrong perspective or lens. We now have created this paradigm or thinking mind or mindset that what I see is wrong, which then builds on my emotions to cause me to harbor something that was never there. So God has been showing me his perspective in things, opening my eyes to, you saw that from the wrong lens. That was never there. You created that. And then once we create these things, then this is what happens. We play the victim role. That they always, every time, I told you they was going to do this. No, you just created a lens and you created what you see based off of your past traumas, your past pains, your past struggles. And God is saying, yeah, you need to put all that to the side so you can see life around you clearly. So I don't even know how I got here, honestly, because this was not what I was planning on talking about. But since we're here, we're here. And so let me back this up a little bit. So we've talked about the names of God, how God has shown up in our life. How he showed up in your life is different from how he shows up in my life. But at any rate, God shows up in our life in different ways to meet the needs, whatever we are going through. But what you don't hear me talk about a lot, which is another part of God that some of us don't like to talk about, is that God is just. And I needed to say that because sometimes we can water God down so much that he's no longer holds this authority. He is looked at as the fairy godmother or father. He's looked at in that way, that only gives you sweet nothings and taps you with a little wand and heals you. But God is just. And what I mean by that is God also does not, in layman terms, God doesn't take mess. God doesn't just let you do what you want to do. There is some things that we have to be accountable for. And one of those things is how we function down here on earth. God is very clear. He's very clear on if we're called to be a disciple of Christ. There are certain things that we should be functioning like. Because if we're not functioning different than the world, then there's no difference. Then why would somebody want to come to Christ if I'm no different than what the world is doing? I should be offering something different. That means the way that I think, the way that I speak, sometimes even the way that I dress. So God is just. There's a scripture in the Bible where he says that God is a jealous God. Now, I don't want you to take that out of context that God is like jealous in a way that that we see jealousy. But essentially, God is saying that because I give you all of me to you, and I love you more than you could ever imagine, because I'm giving you all of me to you, at least you can give all of me, all of you to me. God is saying that, in other words, I don't want to share you with anything else. That anything else could be anything you put in the blank. Whether that's some food, whether that's a relationship, whether that's job, kids, money, all of that. That's what it means by God is saying that he's a jealous God, that there should be nothing that should replace him. There should be nothing in the place of where he stands because he gives all of his self to you freely. Then in return, we should give all of ourselves to him freely and leave no room for any other things. I wanted to throw that thread in there because whenever I get corrections like, hey, you looked at that situation wrong, I equate that to the just part of God. But the thing is, God corrects in love. He doesn't correct in such a way that is harsh, but he corrects you in such a way that he helps you see what you did wrong, such that the next time you'll be conscious of it. And so realizing that I can look at situations based off of my lenses that I have packed away in my pocket. That's what we'll say, in my pocket. Helps me to better clearly discern the situations. If I'm seeing it from God's perspective, then I'm not easily influenced by my emotions. Because God has given me the clarity to see, this is just a happen thing. And like the schedule was off. Or, it just didn't fit who you are. And if you would have did that, then it would have made you feel uncomfortable because that's not what you are. It's those type of things. Like, situations happen, but it's when we choose to see it from God's perspective that it makes more sense. And then it eases, here it is, the tension that you might have, or the anxiety that you might have, or the fear you might have. It eases those things. And so this past week, there were a few moments where God had to say, go check your lens. I think you're looking at that from something that happened back there in your life. And that's not the case with this. And when I do things like that, it's just another aspect of living life without weights. We go through things. But God never wanted us to carry those things. They're there, and they have become a part of our anatomy and of our mindset, and they have created parts of our being. But they were never there to keep us in that place of hurt or in that place of trauma. They were stepping stones to the next area or season in your life. Because if you stay there, I learned this years ago, you become addicted to your story. And becoming addicted to your story is such that you can't get outside of your story. Like, this happened to me, and this and that, and I don't know, and it was just so hard. And so everybody sees you through your story. Now, don't get this twisted with telling your testimony. That's different. But being addicted to your story is it's now become who you are. Like it's not even like you didn't see how God brought you out of it, and now you're in a new place. No, you're still stuck back there, but God has moved on and brought you out of it. You're still back there. That's being addicted to your story. And all that does is keep you in this cycle where you see everything through that story. How can you live life? How can you see blessings when they come in when you are looking through those types of lenses? It had gotten so bad for me that I could take a comment that someone said to me or have said to me, and let's do this. I can take a encouraging comment that someone has said to me and flip it as if, well, wait, why did you say that? Was the last one that I did wasn't good? Instead of receiving the affirmation, I flipped it to find the negative in it. And we can do those things unknowingly. Like, I'm trying to really give you a very, very practical one so that you can understand what I'm saying. Oh, help me, Holy Ghost. A very practical one that has happened in my life. Yeah, I can't, one is not coming to my mind right now. But something positive, I can take and try to find the negative in it. As if there is a underlining motive to it, instead of just seeing the comment as something encouraging or an affirmation. And so that is a result of the lens in which I see things and hear things. And I'm moving into this space where that I'm trying to let go of those lenses. And so what I've done this past week is, in moments where things have happened that I know a lens would pop up, I've settled myself and had an intro conversation. So let's look at this way. That could probably have nothing to do with that. Let's look at this way. Let's see. Maybe this was said because of this, not because of that. And so what I'm doing is what the Bible talks about is capturing your thoughts. I'm catching them before they even run rapid in my mind. And I'm bringing them to the obedience. And so sometimes you got to have this internal dialogue with yourself through a situation. And I'm not saying do this in front of somebody else, but what I am saying, find the space and the time to reflect back over what has taken place in your life or in your day. At the end of the day, before I lay down, I reflect back over everything that happened in my day. And what I do in that reflection is I try to find areas where I either could have done something differently or where was God in that situation. So then when that situation comes up again, I'm more self-aware of, Yeah, hold on. Remember the other day? Let's think about this. Maybe that comment didn't mean that. Maybe it's just something that had to be done. Having these internal dialogues. And so, yeah, I say all that to say, I I was really trying to talk about. Let me tell you where I was really trying to go with this today. Today I was just going to really talk about rest, and I think I briefly talked about rest on one of the early episodes. I was going to talk about that, but I need to stay here on this perspective thing for a reason, because I know I'm not the only one who have seen life through some brokenness in our life. I know I'm not. I know I'm not the only one that has walked around and has viewed people from the brokenness in my past. And so I think it's very essential that we get to a place of healing where the lenses are there, but they are coated with some type of discernment. That if I do still have this lens that I'm looking through, then I gotta have the wherewithal to know when to take it off. Because seeing your life through rejection, then you'll see everything like that. And that's not a good place to be. That's not even where God desires us to be. Can you imagine seeing everything through the lens of rejection? That means you won't even be able to receive the blessings that God does have for you, because you're so clouded by when somebody didn't accept you when you were in middle school. And God has opened doors for you to walk into spaces and places to show you that you are not what happened back there. And you go into these spaces and places and you can't readily function at high level, because everything somebody say to you, you see them from the place of rejection. Why they say that like that? They didn't have to say that like that. I knew I shouldn't have came here. Why did I come here? I was just like, every time I try to do something right, this is what happened. I mean, I'm trying to help people, but they don't want to be helped. They don't see what I'm trying to do for them. And I've been talking, but nobody's listening to me. That's how you see life. And that's how you walk around. And that's not a good place to be. Because some things are just life. Some things are just things that are happening. They're not directed to you. They're just there. So stop thinking things so personal sometimes. And let God show you what you need to see. Our perspective can change the way we interact with life and people. And the lens of us in a place where God never meant for us to be. So let's take the glasses off. Let's take the lenses off. And watch how you see things around you. Watch how you see life change right before your eyes. Things that you thought were wrong will look much different when you take off the lens. and see things from God's perspective. But here's the thing too. You got to be willing. You got to be willing to let God say these type of things to you. And let's don't just get happy in the fact that, hey, God spoke to me and he showed me where I needed to make some corrections, but don't make the corrections. That defeats the whole purpose. And so we really need to just do self inventory. Like this week coming up, go back and look at situations and ask yourself, what lens did I see that through? What was my thinking when that was happening? I can only talk about me, and I'm guilty of using the lens of rejection. I'm guilty of using the lens of not enough. I'm guilty of using the lens of anxiety or fear. I'm guilty of using those lenses. And so I'm just at the end of the day, I'm trying to walk in such a way that that I feel a little lighter. And when you're able to see these things like this and see God's perspective in every situation of your life, it saves you from unnecessary work. It saves you from having to strive and work things out and figure things out. Not just in that moment, but for the future. So that one time where God helped me recognize what lens I had on now has helped me to be more conscious down the road. And so, yeah, that's what we wanted to talk about today. I just wanted to share that. I just wanted to share that with y'all. And I pray that God does a new thing in you. That's what I pray. I pray God does a new thing in you. Let's check the lenses that we're wearing, the perspective, how we're seeing things. Because you could be looking at it from the wrong perspective. You could be looking at it from the wrong perspective. And that was never there. Stop making up stuff. Hey, we got more guests coming. Are y'all excited about that? More guests are coming. More guests are coming. More guests are coming. Are you ready? Hey, let's keep subscribing, keep sharing. Let's keep knocking the enemy down. One nugget at a time. Let's just keep doing it. Let's keep walking out what God has called us to walk out to, on and in. Y'all be blessed. I'll catch you on the next episode.